And so the overall objective is to create a opening for the graduates here in the U.S. For the local economy itself. So I think any leader of a nation would focus on that, and U.S. is doing the same thing. 60 days, I've spoken to almost 70 plus CEOs all across the valley and across America. Yes, they are concerned because nobody likes an environment which is uncertain. They want transparency, stability, so they can make their investment decisions. So from that perspective, yes, you hear people are concerned. You're concerned about your children's continuing education. You're concerned about buying a new house because you don't know what's going to happen. You're concerned about your career itself.
$100,000 for an H-1B visa for all those who will be applying freshly will have to shell out that kind of money. That's the decision taken by Trump administration, although there's still time for the new lottery to come in. But what is the impact of it? The implications of it for India, the implications for it for America, and the mood in the United States of America. To discuss all this and more, I'm being joined by President US ISPF, that's United States India Strategic Partnership Forum, Dr. Mukesh Aghi. Dr. Aghi, thank you so much for joining us here on the network. Beginning with the decision, your first take and your organization's take on the decision itself, the announcement.
Well, first is the $100,000 per H-1B visa is tremendously high number. The second is it is not targeted towards India or Indians itself, even though Indians take almost 72% of that visa itself. You have to understand that when this program was started, it was focused more on high-end technical talent, which was not available in the US. And since then, what we have seen is in certain cases, the H-1B program has been abused. And the whole objective here is to correct that. So any country would like to attract good talent, high-end talent, talent which is lacking in the local ecosystem. And that's what the objective of the $100,000 fee is, to basically filter out the low end and focus on the high end.
That's a very interesting way of putting it. So you're saying that the rest of the jobs that Lutnick said very clearly, there's absolute clarity, Dr. Aghi, in how Trump administration is looking at this, and it should not come as a surprise, or for that matter, as a shock to many, because he is walking the talk on his poll promises. He did say that he'll be getting Americans jobs. And they're not looking at the high end. They're looking at the maybe $65,000 or more category where Americans can be accommodated. Is that what you're saying?
No, absolutely. You have to understand today the unemployment among the fresh graduates is slightly over 6.5%, whereas the overall national unemployment is close to 4%. So the young fresh graduates are not getting hired, especially in STEM program. And so the overall objective is to create a opening for the graduates here in the US for the local economy itself. So I think any leader of a nation would focus on that, and US is doing the same thing.
But Indians are going to get impacted. What was your reaction when you first saw the announcement? There's no clarity on what's really happening, and we saw so many of them disembarking flights. Flights got delayed. So many Indians trying to rush back to the United States of America. Now, all that has been done away with. There's clarity on what's happening. But how did you read into the announcement, how the way it was made, and the panic that followed?
Well, there was lack of clarity initially because Lutnick basically said that it could be annual visa. It will also impact the renewals, but they made it very clear from the White House and the directive it went to the DHS also was that it is a one-time fee. People already who have the visa will not get impacted, and this only impact the fresh round which happens in 2026. So I think that is very, very clear in every aspect. You have to understand that H-1B is a program to fill the gap on the skill which were needed, and that's where the whole objective is to address that. And I think Trump in his campaign also had mentioned that, and he's trying to fulfill that campaign promise.
But it certainly would mean, Dr. Aghi, that this is the end of the road for many Indians here. For many Indians who've been aspiring to go to America, would you say this would be the end of their American dream?
I don't think so. You have to understand that one is a lot of these jobs we feel will now move to India or other part of the world itself, because if the value of the job is less than 100,000 a year, then it will move. And that's one trend we will see happening. And with the technology improving, people don't have to be at the customer side or in the headquarters to execute whatever needs to be executed itself. Second is you have to understand that you have a lot of Indians who come here to study. We have around 300,000. The thinking is also is that on the high end, especially graduates with STEM program, give them immediate green card. So I think that discussion is still going on. Will that happen? We don't know. But I think the thinking is keep the good talent for the local economy, and there is a momentum to drive that also while you basically raise the H-1B to 100,000, but make sure they are keeping high-end talent in the country through the fresh graduate program.
So, but it is also going to be impacted if companies look at outsourcing, because you also have a hire act where they are going to look at taxing services, which means anything that's outsourced, American jobs would be taxed. So either way, they'll have to do the math on how much they're willing to pay. Should they outsource and let people be hired out of America?
Well, the Hire Acts is basically has been proposed by the senator from Ohio, and sorry, senator from Oregon, and the you have to understand the process in the US is anything to do with tax has to come from the House side, not from the Senate side. So far we have not seen anybody who is proposing this as a legislative agenda in the House itself. So I think it is very, very far away from reality. Yes, they would like to tax, but I think there'll be a lot of opposition. And it's not just IT outsourcing, it's sort of also about manufacturing, it's about research. So it will impact the economy of the United States, because almost 40% cost reduction happens when you manufacture outside the US. And if you start taxing that, it will impact the tax payment by the corporate America, is going to impact the competitiveness of the American companies on a global basis. So I think Hire Act is still far away, and we're looking at it seriously to see how we can oppose it.
Okay, either way, how I'm reading this is whether if there's going to be taxes on outsourcing of jobs, or whether if they're going to replace a lot of the low category, about 65,000 or less salary jobs to Americans. Either way, I'm seeing that there is going to be a drastic reduction in how many Indians can really make it to America. That's a fair assessment, isn't it?
No, you're right, because you have 85,000 basically H-1B, and almost 20,000 are directly from skills, but you can always leverage that through L1, J1, or if companies are interested, they can sponsor the golden visa of $1 million. So I think it's not the end of the tunnel here in every aspect. If Indians are dreaming, people who are have ambition to be here, they will find ways to be here.
You are saying, but also again, Dr. Agi, I've been discussing this in my own newsroom. I do believe that there'd be a lot of people who will actually shell out this money. And Lutnick would be proven right. Trump would be proven right that yes, they should have done this long ago, and that there are people who are willing to pay that kind of money to be in America.
Yeah, we have seen that. I would say we've seen the Golden Visa program in Dubai, how it was snatched by mainly by the Asian community and especially India itself. And when you see the clarity coming out more on the Golden Visa and $1 million down payment for that, yes, there'll be a lot who will grab it to have a better life.
Okay. Shifting focus to what's happening right now, we're looking at maybe some forward movement in the Indo-US bilateral relations. Piyush Goyal is in Washington, D.C., Dr. Jaishankar is in New York. Conversations that are taking place, certainly. Are you looking hopeful in terms of, or optimistic in terms of where the relationship now is at and is headed?
You have to understand the relationship between US and India is not just about trade. It's about geopolitics. It's about technology. It's about defense. It's about people to people. And from India perspective, US is one source where a lot of large capital comes in to help on the growth of the economy itself. So you have the Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal in New York today. So is the foreign minister, and as I understand, there are roughly eight departmental secretaries also in New York today. What we have, Jameson Greer, the USTR chief in New York. Lutnick is in New York, and President Trump is coming later today into New York. So you will see substantial meeting taking place. The objective is to hammer out an agreement which is basically a win-win for both countries itself, because, as I said, we need to take away the irritant of extra 25% tariff. Looking at realistic tariff between India and the US, we are hopeful that they will come to understanding and take this forward.
What according to you would be the best space for both the countries when it comes to tariffs? 10, 15%? What would you say?
You have to understand that uh, how things have moved. Before the tariffs came in, the weighted average tariff India had on US goods was roughly around 13 to 15%, and US had around 2.3%. And if India gets a tariff of 15% of its goods coming to the US, we're thinking of declaring that as victory. So times have changed. But I think more important is having a viable tariff, uh, because at the end of the day, tariff penalize local citizens, and we are already seeing in the U.S. inflation creeping in. The price of groceries are going up. Price of goods coming in are slowly going up, and so it impacts the local citizen. We strongly believe that tariffs are not good, but if the president feels that's the way he wants to drive the economy, that's the way he wants to drive the foreign policy, and so I think a low single-digit tariff would be the way to take this forward between India and the U.S.
Dr. Aghi, coming back to the H-1B visa case, do you think this is a sustainable way of looking at how they should be growing, how the Silicon Valley should be growing? Is this sustainable to not have Indian techies reach America?
So I know there will be basically court action taking place today, where there will be uh, the plaintiff will try to bring in injunctions to the current tariff. The fundamental question you have to ask is is are the Indian techies, when they move to the US, are they replacing the jobs in the US? Uh, there is a yes and no answer to that question, because when you look at the Indian startups which come into the US, for every individual who's starting a company, they're creating eight jobs. For every Indian techie who comes in on the high end, creates another job for the American itself. So yes, on the low end there are challenges, but overall on the high end, what we see is the startups are creating jobs, and almost 75% of the startups in the U.S. has some kind of an Indian component tied to it. So we have to get into more details. But overall, I think the current situation pleases the MAGA right, and that's the direction the president wants to go.
You, as part of US ISPF, have been working very closely when it comes to high end technology cooperation between the two countries as well. Do you think it will affect Indians and Americans working together under ISET?
No, I don't think so. It is important to understand the ISET is a critical component of the relationship, which is focused on collaboration on higher end of the technology itself, be it on the space side, be it on the defense side, cyber, quantum, and both sides are equally participating, and both sides are contributing to the R&D. I mean, so you look at today, if you go beyond ISET, GCCs in India, over almost over 2,000 GCCs are there, and 60% are American, and which have generated last few years over 300,000 patents. So what we are seeing is a lot of research happening at low cost to US companies, where they're able to generate patents, which makes them much more effective in the trade arena, on the business arena itself. So I think the relationship is a win-win for both countries. The relationship benefits the both countries. Yes, you have a sentiment on the right side in the U.S. would like to basically close the border, which like to create jobs for its own people, and that's why some of these actions are happening on H-1B and other immigration issues.
Well, Dr. Aghi, why do you think all these decisions are being taken? Quite harsh at that. One, we saw the tariffs, then we saw the secondary penalties, then we saw Chabahar Port being, the waiver on Chabahar Port being revoked, so it's now under sanction. And then we're looking at the very important announcement of H-1B visas, which will affect or impact Indians more than any other community or country. Why this very focused anti-India decisions that are coming New Delhi's way from Washington?
Well, I have to say one thing is it is not an anti-India decision being taken. I think these are more of a pro-America decision being taken. What really happens is because you have a large number of Indian Americans in the US, you have a large number of Indian students in the US, you have a large number of H-1B in the US. When you're making those decisions on a global basis, it does impact. When you're close to a nation, you get impacted the most itself. When you look at the trade between the two countries, it's $200 billion. And the objective is to take it to $500 billion. India buys Russian oil. And because of the Ukraine conflict, and the thinking is if you can put pressure on Russia by basically choking its income through oil being sold, India becomes a victim of that. So I don't think this is a anti-India stance by anyone. In fact, the president reached out to the prime minister on September 17th and wished him a very happy 75th birthday, and basically told him, my friend, Prime Minister Modi. So I think from that perspective, I don't think there's an anti-India sentiment. It's more about trying to see what's best for America. In that process, India does become a victim.
Okay. Talking about victims, do you think there'll be a time when, should there be renewals, problems over there, rejections over there, that families will get impacted in America? Those kids who are born and are American, studying in colleges, their parents might be affected and impacted. How do you see it? Will families in this scenario of uncertain times with the Trump administration at the helm of affairs, will families be impacted?
Well, you have to understand their emotions, and there are miscommunication, and we saw that initially Friday on H-1B visa issue. And once the clarity comes in, what we see is the impact is very, very minimal in every aspect on the existing H-1B visa holders or the families itself. Yes, when you make a dramatic changes in policy, when you make a dramatic shift in trying to position the country. Yes, you have individuals and families do get impacted. But I just want to make it very clear it is not an anti-India stance. It is very much a pro-America stance where you want to basically put America first in every aspect.
Okay. Finally, before I let you go, have you spoken to your friends in the Silicon Valley, which basically houses most of the techies, Indian techies? Are they worried? Are they concerned? Are there any of those people or companies and leaders in the United States of America who represent the tech world? Are they concerned? Have they spoken?
Yes, in fact, in the last 60 days, I've spoken to almost 70 plus CEOs all across the valley and across America. Yes, they are concerned because nobody likes an environment which is uncertain. They want transparency, stability, so they can make their investment decisions. So from that perspective, yes, you hear people are concerned. You're concerned about your children's continuing education. You're concerned about buying a new house because you don't know what's going to happen. You're concerned about your career itself. And when you put a tax of $100,000 per visa per individual itself, it does impact the budgets of companies itself. So I think companies will look at very carefully as to when they plan the hiring, as to what position they're going to hire and what position they're going to basically offshore it. But that's normal in any environment when you're trying to plan a business, when you're trying to build a family, that you have to deal with uncertain environment. Today, the turbulence is much higher, but I think there's enough resilience both on the corporate side and also individual side that they will weather the storm calmly.
Okay, how long do you anticipate this turbulence will continue, this uncertainty under Trump?
It's hard to say that
Mhm.
because you have to understand since January when Trump administration came in, we are seeing surprises every day. I think that's the operating model, that constant chaos is good itself. And what we are seeing is the corporate America has learned to deal with that in some way, ignore it also, and stay focused on its business. And I think this is what we have to do in India also, is deal with the substance and ignore the fluff part of it. So I don't think the surprises, the turbulence is going to settle down. We have to be ready to deal with it on a daily basis. And again, don't react emotionally. Look at the data, look at the reality, and then react to it.
On that note, Dr. Mukesh Aghi, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.